Ramdev Agarwal at Motilal Oswal Financial Services is joining us right now to take some questions. Ramdev, great to have you back. It's been a while. Appreciate your time. Prashant, this side. Where do you stand on the market, Ramdev? Let me just start with that. Do you believe that we're at the upper end of this range? Or do you think, there is more potential?
Yeah, that's been the experience in the past that it comes to about these levels of 6,000, 6,100 and goes back to 5,500 or so. So I don't think there is anything significant right now except for the terrific monsoon. The monsoon has been really widespread and across the country it's been a bumper monsoon. So you are already seeing some amount of good feel coming among the business people that after the good monsoon in the second half they could see some revival from the trade front. But beyond that, I don't see any other factor which is helping right now.
But what is what is the framework for thinking about the market at this juncture, Ramdev? Just sort of combine the top two or things on your mind, which according to you will basically drive markets up or down from here.
Yeah, so at 14, 15 PM, one need not be worried about the market at 5,500 or 5,700 or 6,000. I think the whole thing is that it's a very healthy market to invest. Because when you go to invest, you're not investing at the index level. You're investing into stocks, and whenever you get a good stock idea, whether you get the idea at 5,500 or 6,000, it really doesn't matter. So this is a good time to look at search for some of the themes, some of the very well managed companies. I would think that one of the big change which has happened in last 12 months is a change of the rupee parity in the global markets. So at 60 rupees, I think after a long time, 10 years, you got the currency backing the Indian producers, Indian businessmen, vis-a-vis imports. So I think some of the companies will definitely benefit, and particularly the ones which were doing well, irrespective of the currency, like say tech was doing very well, pharma was doing very well, some of the automobile companies were doing well. So I think those companies will do even better. So I think one has to go about finding at a reasonable price some of the export-oriented companies can one buy, and fortunately some of these companies are not that as highly priced as the consumer companies, which has become very exorbitantly priced.
So, what you're saying is overall market valuations aren't the problem. Can I say that, Ramdev?
Yeah, clearly it's not a problem at all. It's not a problem to the extent that you're scared of entering the market. No, you have to be in, when you have buybacks all over and zero IPOs, I don't think that's the environment where typically you will find the market to be picking out. No, this is the time when the managements are buying left, right and center, all kinds of management, starting from the top at HLL to Reliance to smaller companies. You see how many buybacks are on. So I think it's a time when people should be very seriously looking to participate in the equities here.
But there is absolutely no confidence, Ramdev. Right, the government is making efforts, but there is very little confidence, and that has been true for a while now. How do you think about that?
Yeah, this is how it's a cyclical pattern, and our markets are far more deeply cyclical than other parts of the mature markets. Like today's FT, weekend FT says highest equities inflows since 2008 in US. So this is how things start. Equities are being lapped up in US. Earlier it was the bond all the way. So we are still on the bandwagon of the bonds. Equities are still headed toward here. Maybe it will take 6 months to a year for the world to realize that equities are as good or better asset class then bonds, and you should have at least some mix of equities and bonds in your portfolio rather than having 100% bonds and stay away completely from the equities. I think it's very, very high time, I would say it's a must to have some allocation starting into equities in India.
Ramdev, the worrying thoughts keep coming back, and I know we have discussed about this earlier as well. What are the chances, right, that the big growth, and this is actually the moot question right now, because it combines all the factors that you spoke about: global liquidity, valuations, interest rates, policy action, and everything together. What are the chances that the big boom that you saw in mid 2000s, right, basically starting a few years back, 5 or 6 years back, the boom which lasted till about 5 or 6 years back was a big cyclical move. It came about with a confluence of very good global liquidity, favorable interest rates, policy action. Now in hindsight we can call many of them bad, but at that time they spurred investment activity and those kind of things. So it was a cyclical upturn that's over now, and it's very hard for us to get that back.
Yeah. So economy is managed in a cyclical fashion. I mean, the managers of the economy, they try to manage things as it comes. So when there is excess flow, they try to stop the flow. Today, when there is a deficient flow, they are trying to attack the flow. So when the investments were going through the roof, I mean, your investment rate had gone to, say, maybe 40% to GDP or something like that. They were clearly not bothered about whether further investment is coming or not. Look at what has happened in Orissa. All the projects, I mean, projects worth 1,50,000 crores or maybe even more, were knocking the door at some point of time. Today, all the projects are withdrawn one by one. Even if you want them, they don't want to come now. So I think it is for the government to decide what kind of investment cycle they want to have. I mean, in the first 5-7 years between 2003 and 2008, whatever be the circumstances, we had a massive investment cycle on. So state governments particularly, and central government, they just didn't bother about how the investors were being treated. Today, when the investment is completely withdrawn and dried up, you want to treat them like God. I mean, the guys who are investors, now you're running after them and begging them that why don't you come to India and put few $1 billion out here. So I think this is the way cyclically, the whole thought process with the government is very cyclical in character rather than counter-cyclical. So we have to live with that. And I'm quite sure that once Delhi and state governments, they start drumming up investments, with a gap of 6 months, 1 year, they will do so much that investments will come. And I don't have any doubts. And so you can't wait for those things to happen. I mean, maybe with the change of politics, whatever, but it will happen. That faith you must have, that we are not going to die as a country without having investment cycle being revived. So I think this is a time you must put your bets, and whenever investment cycle revives, you'll get benefited.
Yeah, but that can be, it might take 5 years, 10 years, who knows? And you've repeated this point earlier as well. You've said, there's no point being excessively bearish if you want to put money to work in the market, right? You've got to have faith. But my question is, the type of reform action by central and state government, etc., that we're talking about, Ramdev, do we have the ability to do that? Wouldn't it face very strong opposition from vested interests? And do you think the political sort of system right now is prepared to meet these challenges, the kind of reforms which are necessary for us to actually get back to that growth, because growth back which we saw in mid 2000s? Government bureaucrats and officials come and say, well, we can get back to 8-9% growth very easily if we do this, if we do that. But we know that that's not the truth. It will take a lot more.
So maybe we'll not go back to 9%, 8% kind of thing, but we are already at 4.5, 5. I mean, going to about 7.5 will be definitely better than where you are today. So the issue is, I don't know where it will go, but what I'm saying is, we are talking about investment cycle. I mean, a lot of companies are suffering from lack of investment cycle. So doing the right things to revive the investment cycle, particularly in the country like India where everything is in short supply. In fact, we are suffering from short supply rather than excess supply. So we have short supply in railways, we have short supply in schools, education, we have short supply in defense production, we have short supply even in basic food. So I think there is so much government can do, or government can help the entrepreneurs do, that someday the sensibility will prevail and the right kind of environment will be created where investments will happen. I don't think any of the corporates are running away from doing investments. Entrepreneurship is about investing. So I think it will happen. I have great faith in Indian entrepreneurship. Just that external and internal environment, policies and generally there's a little confidence, it will revive.
Spoken like a, not a bull, but an optimist. Ramdev, stay with us. I'll take a very quick break here. We'll get back to here and now, and I'll ask you, what should one do if one had to put money to work in the market? Back in 2 minutes with Ramdev Agarwal on the other side. Ramdev Agarwal is with us, and we've been talking about the top-down stuff. Ramdev, let's talk about the markets here and now, and as you see them. So, what is the strategy in terms of actual buying and selling, putting money to work?
Yeah. So, it's a business as usual. If you don't like a company, you can sell even now. It's not very depressed or anything like that. If some business model is broken, if you don't want to hold it for 5-10 years, don't hold it for 10-15 days also. So clearly, the bad ones are showing their true color, and if you find them they are bad, so you can get out and use that money to buy something which you understand, which are going to do better, which are doing better. And I think one of the defining thing which has happened this time around is that quality companies which are managed well, companies which have taken care of their shareholders well, have been disproportionately rewarded. Of course, there are very few companies, but I think it's a lesson to a lot of companies which are not taking care of their shareholders, that they better should take care of the shareholders, and in the process they will take care of themselves. So I think some of these companies one should put in the portfolio and wait for a better time to come. You allow the businesses to flourish for 3, 4, 5 years. I'm sure as a portfolio you'll do well.
Let me just talk about the one space which you were bullish on, and I think you're still bullish on, consumer names, FMCG, and things like that.
Yeah.
And let's take lever as an example.
Yeah.
Ramdev, where do you stand on lever?
Yeah.
It's at about, I think, 690 or so. Do you think it's justified, or this is essentially hope that there would be another offer from Unilever trying to buy back because they didn't get what they wanted the first time around? What is your sense?
Okay. No, I don't know about this second part of it, but I think clearly before the offer came, the consensus opinion was 470, 480. So clearly anything around this level right now, about 700, is very high price. I would wait for their results and what they want to say in the con call in terms of what are their plans. So maybe after this 15-20% whatever offer has been accepted, what are their stance, in the sense that do they have any change of the plans, do they have any aggression, or it is a business as usual. If it is business as usual, I would think that this is little higher price, and not that it won't make money in next 5-7 years, but obviously because the purchase price is high, your returns will be much more muted in next 5 years. So I would be very hesitant to put money at this price.
What about other stocks? Is there another, in the manner of speaking, lever, which one can bet on? You've liked Nestle for a long time, Ramdev. Just asking you a view on other stocks.
Yeah, so there's all this consensus right now. There's so much of convergence on what is a good thing, and hence price is lifted to exorbitantly high levels. I think this kind of consensus approach, even in the terrific, I mean, see, these are fantastic stocks. I mean, companies. I mean, you don't. These are rare companies with quality, growth, and longevity. I mean, particularly the longevity part of it. You don't find 50 or 100-year kind of stories that easily. So these are companies with those kind of stories, but if you buy it 40, 50, 60 P multiples, I think your return for the next 5, 10 years could be very muted. And most of the investors are bothered about their next 1 year and 2 years and 3 years. So with the kind of investor mindset, one should be very careful. I mean, one is buying forever. I mean, pension funds and the guys who are coming from outside with a 3, 4, I mean 2-3% cost of money. For them, 5-6%, even 10% return is very good. But people like us who can get 10-12% in the fixed income itself, why should I look at anything less than 20% return in the equities as a fair return? So for that, if you buy at this kind of valuations, I think it will be a big challenge to when the market revives, you will find very stranded kind of thing.
Right. So, I mean, if you're looking for absolute returns, as most are, right? Then this is not the place to look, because there are very few opportunities now, right? That's what you're saying.
No, opportunities are there. In fact, what is happening is market has now gone to a situation where it is black and white kind of situation, in the sense that either it is 0 or 1. Either there is a good company or there is a bad company. So once it is bucketed in good, then any price is right, and once it is bucketed as bad, any bad price is also right. So market has reacted. So there is no shades of grey in the market right now, and that's where the opportunity is. So if you think a company is good, cash flow is good, management is reasonable, okay, they might have done something wrong in the past, but even for that, if the business quality of business, cash flow is very good, there has to be some fair valuation of the whole thing, because stocks are not about some fancy names. It's not fashion. It's not perfume. It's about overall dividend. What is the present value of future dividends? So your purchase price will determine what is going to be the return of the future dividends. So despite a company is very good, I don't think you can pay any price for that. Whereas a company which is okay, I mean not most friendly like Indian managements, in that case you cannot say that the valuation is 5p or 6p. So I think one has to find a lot of ideas in between.
Okay, got that. What about the pharmaceutical space, Ramdeo?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of PE, that's still not where consumers are.
Yeah.
How do you think about that? The larger ones and the things that you track at Motilal?
Yeah, so I think that's another big space where, see, first thing is, I think all the export-oriented companies, I mean, which are the backbone of Indian exports, I mean, they're the lot which one should have in the portfolio, particularly the companies which are not that sensitive to the passing on the benefits of the devaluation. So clearly the companies which have some pricing power in the export market, those are the companies to look for. And pharmaceutical is one segment where India was growing. Indian pharmaceutical companies were doing very well, even at 42 and 45 rupees to a dollar. So at 60 rupees to a dollar, clearly these companies will do fabulously well, and they will be able to cater to even marginal markets in the world. So the size of global markets are very large. Indian companies are relatively very small for that matter, and we have seen emergence of one pharma company crossing 1 lakh crore kind of market cap. So we are going to see other companies taking the example and dominating the world markets in the next few years. So that's I see their opportunities, and some of the ideas can really become big. So that space is very interesting. Apart from the domestic pharmaceutical, which is kind of again hindered by impacted by the current regulation in terms of pricing and a whole lot of things.
consumers, and view as far as pharma is concerned. Ramdev, I just want your thoughts on, banks, right? That's about 25-30% of the market. What's your view there?
Yeah, I think the Indian private sector banks were always terrific bet. I mean, people made tons of money, and I don't see any reason why they will not keep making money. Maybe it was too stretched at this juncture, and this RBI policy actions have disturbed their current set of things. But fundamentally, private sector banks are extremely well positioned, and any deeper correction should be used to build a portfolio on private sector banks. And public sector banks are, I think, beaten out of shape completely. So, I mean, I don't think there is much to go down from here. So, combination of these two would still make a very good investment bet, I would think.
Anything that I know you're a little hesitant talking about specific stocks, Ramdev, but stocks have fallen quite a bit, right? Especially the PSU lot. Some are below the 2008 post-Lehman price to book multiples. Many argue and say that actually the economy is much weaker now than it was then. So it's a wrong comparison. But are there any favorites there, Ramdev, that you'd want to sort of list out?
No, if you talk about PSU pack, then of course the leader of the Sadar of the pack is SBI, and SBI at 1800 and all. I mean, you clearly in the market you always have some downside, but I would think the downside is limited and upside is very, very high. I mean, it could be 1:10 kind of ratio. So it's a terrific bet. You see the US markets, once they recovered, the best performers are all the banks. Who were basket case completely. I think the US banks were in far deeper trouble than probably Indian banks now. Indian public sector banks. So whenever recovery comes, you get not only the earnings, what will happen is the credit cycle will reverse. And once the credit cost starts reducing, clearly the profits will reasonably managed banks, they will show a lot more profits, and suddenly it will become darling of the market. There won't be any sellers at that price. That itself is a big thing. So, but when will it happen? Nobody has an idea. So it's a very unpopular contrarian bet right now. But I think, if from here, if PSU banks all 65-70% of the banking system goes sick, just devil's advocate. In that case, in any case, we have a deep trouble. So I don't think we are in that kind of a problem right now. So I would think that there is hope at the end of tunnel in public sector banks also.
Ramdev, out of time. Thanks for joining in. Great to have you with us here, and hope that we can do this more often than we do now. Lots to talk about. Thanks very much, Ramdev. Appreciate it. All right, let's take a very quick break here. Coming back and tracking how commodity markets are opening up. I think they've already have.